Welcome to our second session of the Quick Start System for Real Estate Professionals. I'm Lauren Keim, your host. And as you should remember, in the first session, we outlined the real estate business, working with sellers, prospecting, making a presentation, and providing exceptional service. And on the buyer side, handling incoming calls, making a presentation about buyer agency, writing offers, and negotiating. The rest of our first 90 days, we're going to delve into each of these areas in much more detail. As I mentioned in the first session, there's a lot to learn. We also discussed our training and our tools will primarily be found in two locations. The first is 21online.com. That's Central 21's primary backend site. And the second is our site, c21resources.com, where we load a lot of the things that we work on. Now, today we're going to focus on laying out a game plan to accomplish your goals. And this plan is not a one-size-fits-all. Many of you have different needs, different goals. Some of you are starting full-time and need to replace a six-figure income as quickly as possible. Some of you are retired from another career and looking to begin a new adventure, but may not have the same needs as that person who needs a strong six-figure income. And some of you may be starting part-time, transitioning from another career into this one. Whatever your desired outcome, we need to help you to really get started quickly, or you're going to become a statistic. And as I mentioned in the first session, only 1 in 20 agents stay in the business more than 3 years. And that's horrifying. And that's not because, and that's partly because too many who start in the real estate industry never get the hang of not having a 9-to-5 job that tells them what to do. In the long run, this can be one of the most rewarding careers you can possibly have. The income is limitless. In the beginning, you need to decide what your goals are, what goals you have, so you can figure out what actions you need to take to achieve those goals. And by this point, you should have logged into 21online.com. You should have reviewed the tools we have available for you. Remember that you log into Central 21 with your Central 21 email. That's your first name, period, your last name at central21.com. And if you can't recall your password or you've never logged in, then click on Forgot Password and it'll send a link to your regular Gmail, Yahoo, or AOL, or whatever you're using. Now, today I want to start by pulling out some tools that should be in your welcome package or your quick start guide, because we're going to be using them today. And they include a week at a glance form and a business plan worksheet. That's a lot of what we're going to concentrate on today. Now, please remember that while you are an independent contractor under Central 21, you're also your own small business. And every solid and successful business has goals to achieve and a plan to achieve those goals. While each of you may have differences in what you ultimately desire, we can help you achieve success by providing you with the framework you're going to need to be successful. Part of that framework is going to be some action plans that you'll need to implement within your personal business plan. We're also going to help you to use some of our systems to build an ongoing business. Now, let's start by reviewing the first quick start session. By now, you should have logged into 21 Online, as I said a minute ago. You should have joined Workplace by Facebook. You should have added an absolute minimum of 10 contacts into Business Builder or MoxieWorks. And you should have toured at least 5 homes so you can start getting an idea of value in the area. This week, we're going to ask you to, again, put 10 contacts into Business Builder or MoxieWorks, because you're slowly building a book of business. You're starting to reach out to your social network, your sphere of influence, and show them that you have this new career in real estate and that you need their help. And by the way, I want you to make sure you add their addresses, their physical mailing addresses as well, not just their phone number and email. While you're emailing now, we're going to use those addresses for some campaigns later in our initial 90 days. And this week, we're also going to ask you to again tour a minimum of 5 homes. Let me explain why. Why am I having you tour homes? What happens when someone asks you, what's the market like? You should be able to give them an idea of what homes are going for, what's selling in the area, and the best way to learn about the market is by going out and seeing homes for sale and watching what they sell for and how quickly they sell. Here's a quote for you. It was character that got us out of bed, commitment that moved us into action, and discipline that enabled us to follow through. The key to being successful here is to make sure you follow through, and we need to help make sure you follow through with your business plan. And that's why we're going to require you to turn in some of these actionable items. Because if you don't do these things, you won't be successful. And I want so badly for all of you to succeed. So where does business come from? It comes from those people who like and trust you and referrals from those people. And we're going to talk about other methods of obtaining business over the next 90 days. But we want to focus on where we're most likely to generate income quickly. Now, let me start by explaining the three major areas where real estate business comes from. Number one is generating referrals, and that can be from building strong relationships. Your social networking, there are some farming techniques that might fit in this area or might fit under proactively prospecting. Postings on social media, and really taking care of your clients, your friends, your relatives. The second way is to pay for business, attract business by buying leads from Zillow or paying referral fees to Realtor.com or OpCity, or to pay and send out regular postcard mailings or to market yourself online. And the last one is proactively prospecting, making phone calls, knocking on doors, calling expired listings, calling for sale by owners. Let me start with the first one. There are really the areas you're going to be getting business from. The first one in the beginning are people who already know you, your friends, your family, your former coworkers, people you went to school with, your hairdresser, your teachers, your dentist, and any other acquaintances you might have, anyone who knows you on site. There are other ways to build long relationships as well, including joining referral organizations or canvassing the same neighborhood over and over again. And again, we're really going to dig into prospecting in the next few weeks. Again, there are three areas to generate business from. The first one in the beginning is people who you already and like you. The second is paying for business. Most of the online real estate searches are internet companies that are trying to make money. They make money by charging real estate agents for leads. So for example, if you go to Zillow or Trulia right now and you find a photo of me smiling next to a listing that I might have, that phone number next to my face is not actually me, and I can't change it. That phone number goes to Zillow, and then Zillow sells that lead on my listing to whoever is paying the most per lead in that zip code. I don't want to get into weeds here because we'll be discussing marketing campaigns in a few weeks. But suffice it to say that a realtor agrees to spend, for example, $500 a month in one zip code, and Zillow agrees in return to send perhaps 10 leads to that realtor each month for that $500, or about $50 a lead. Might be $80 a lead, might be $150 a lead in a really hot area. An alternative is Realtor.com, which operates an organization called OpCity. Realtor.com doesn't charge a monthly fee or a fee per lead up front, but instead they charge a percentage of the sale, which can be much higher. Currently, that percentage is 38%. So if you sell a property for $200,000 with a 3% buyer side commission, 38% of that commission comes right off the top and goes back to Realtor.com. Again, paying for leads can be quite expensive. Anytime you pay for leads, you have to calculate what type of return on investment you might make. For example, we had an agent team that was paying $3,500 a month for leads from Zillow. Sounds crazy, right? It's a lot of money. But they were earning over $300,000 a year from that campaign. So was it worth it to them to spend $42,000 a year to earn $300,000? I'll leave that up to you to decide. The truth is that most realtors, particularly when they're first starting out, don't have the resources to spend that kind of money. But you might have the resources to spend $100 a month on a postcard campaign to the same area over and over again. Or you might be willing to pay referral fees to Realtor.com's OpCity or OJO Labs or any other referral source that charges a referral fee. Now, coming back to the three areas where we generate business, first was your social network. The second was paying for leads. The third is what I'm going to call prospecting. Now, that might mean calling for sale by owners in the area and asking if they'd like to list. It might mean contacting bank foreclosure departments and asking if they need a great agent to market their properties, or calling expired listings, which are properties that were on the market but failed to sell on their first listing attempt. It might even mean cold calling neighborhoods or demographic groups. Buying leads is an investment in money. Prospecting, on the other hand, is an investment in time. Once you get started, there are also two ways to grow your income. The first is to generate more leads or more potential prospects. And the second is to convert a greater percentage of those prospects into clients. And that means doing a better job presenting yourself than the competition. We're going to spend quite a bit of time on that in a few weeks, but we need to start with the basics. What we're going to show you today is a good business plan is going to have at least a full year of actions. It's not going to be just what you're going to do next week, but what you're going to plan out for the next year. You're going to build systems into your business and implement those systems to be successful. But you can't start by doing 50 things at once. You have to learn a system and learn a skill and add them slowly into your business. So I'm going to help you to focus on a few things first, and then we're going to build from those. We're going to build a foundation and grow from that. And as we get started, I want you to consider the question, is it easier to do business with someone who already knows you? Or is it easier to do business with a complete stranger? The reason we start with your social network, or what we call your sphere of influence, is that it's obviously easier to work with someone who already has some trust in you. See, if you know 100 people that interact with you periodically, and you might think that you don't, but you likely do. That includes your family, your friends, people you went to school with, those who are from prior careers, your hairdresser, your doctor, your dentist, and so on. Of those 100 people, around 7% of them, or 14 of them, will move in the next year, and about 6 of them will both buy and sell. That's a potential 20 sales. In a hot market, it's even higher. And we're going to work on getting those 100 people to refer you everyone that they know. And in the long run, your sphere of influence is going to grow to include all those people that are referred to you, and everyone you sell property to becoming a larger and larger pool. We also know that statistically about 65 to 70% of all agents' business comes from their sphere of influence, their past clients, and the referrals from those groups. We say that again, the people that already like and trust them, their sphere of influence, those people they've sold houses to or for, their past clients, and referrals from those two groups. So if we're going to focus our time, our money, our advertising, and everything on some target audience to start building our book of business, it makes the most sense that we maximize our results by looking first at our sphere of influence, because such a high percentage of our clients come from that pool. And if you build a great foundational program to support those people and follow up with those people, then even new business that you get and any business you pay for will also be funneled into that system that'll continuously remind them that you're in the real estate business and that you need their help, their support, and their referrals. So let's jump over to the first planning tool, which is our Quick Start planning tool. This is in your Quick Start package. Now remember, we just talked about 3 main sources of business. First was generating referrals, and we were specifically looking at your sphere of influence. The second, which is on the second page here, was paying for business, like leads from Zillow or mailing postcards. And the third was proactively prospecting, making calls, knocking on doors, calling for sale by owners. Our business plan worksheet is broken into those same 3 areas so we can determine where we're going to focus our time, our effort, and our money as we build this business. Now, this first page is sphere of influence. Again, the second is paid advertising. The third is prospecting. Any good business plan has strong goals. At the top of the form, of course, you'll see your name and the date. The second thing on the form is your personal expenses. See, the reality is that you need to make a decision on how much money you really need to make in this business just to stay in this business. What kind of income do you need to make this career work for you? So taking your personal expenses and figuring out, well, I need a car, I need to pay my mortgage, and I need to pay for food and clothes for my family. Now, we're not going to go into too much depth in this. I'm going to suggest that in the first 90 days that you take an even more advanced business planning course. But right now, I want you to understand the basics. I need you to figure out how much money you need to make per year and then per month in order to try and work backward into how much business we need to generate to make that happen. On the right, you'll also see yearly business expenses. Now, remember that you are a business within a business. You're an independent contractor. And while there is going to be marketing and tools provided by Century 21, you will also find that you're likely going to need to spend some money within your personal business to be successful. You won't likely know a number to plug into this blank yet, but I want you to be thinking about it as you build your plan. The next line is what your income was in real estate in the last 365 days. Since you're watching this and you're likely new to the industry, that would likely be 0. But I'm hoping you carry this task from year to year because it's going to help you to build a better and better plan each year. And on the right-hand side, it's going to be your income goal for the next year. And that's what we're going to calculate today through this plan. Now, we've changed how many people do you know to how many people can you get addresses for. So under sphere of influence, how many people can you get addresses for? Because if you call someone or talk to them and ask them for an address and can't get it, well, then how well do you know them? And where do you start to calculate that number? Start by going through your phone and making a list of everyone you have stored in your phone. Then go through social media, Facebook or Instagram, and see who you're connected with there. It won't be everyone, but it will be a start. And remember, in your quick start guide, you're also going to find a memory jogger list that can help you to start building that network. Now, hopefully you have a sphere of influence in the area. If you just moved here from Wichita, South Dakota, then perhaps you only know a few people. You're still going to add those people that you know into your contact management program. You're still going to start sending at least e-newsletters and staying in touch and reminding that you're in real estate, but you're also likely going to have to find a different form of prospecting to grow your business. I want to get you to 100 people that you know into your contact management program by the middle of this 12 weeks of the Quick Start program, if not at least by the end. What we're going to do is some simple math. We're going to plug in how many people you expect to put into our database, and then we're going to divide that by 7. If you remember, I talked about it earlier, which is the average when people move every 7 years. Those who own townhomes might move every 3 years, and those who buy luxury $1 million properties may be here for the next 15 or 20, but it averages out to about 7. If we have 100 people and we divide that by 7 years that they take to move, we're going to find that it comes out to 14 potential sales per year. And that's the number you're going to put in that next box if you've got 100 in your network. And again, those are 14 potential deals just sitting there waiting for you because they're going to be either buying or selling or even buying investment properties. And each one of them also knows at least 2 people that you don't know that are going to be buying and selling next year. So there's a potential for another 200 opportunities. And again, 6 of those 14 are going to both buy and sell. So there's a lot of potential business sitting here. Now you're going to need to really work for those referrals. The industry average is that agents do business with about 14% of their sphere of influence per year. If you do a better job because you're keeping in touch with them, calling them periodically, sending them newsletters, posting stuff on social media, and maybe even stopping by to see them, bringing a promotional product every so often, you're likely to be over 20% with referrals from that group. Now, again, that's strictly with your sphere of influence. Now let's go down to the next section and let's fill in the number of people, divide by 7, and then multiply by your local average commission. Your average commission is going to be slightly different depending on what location you're in. If you're at the shore points, you're going to have a higher number potentially than perhaps central Pennsylvania. So please talk to your manager or your mentor and ask what your anticipated average commission is so you can fill this in and try and figure out how much you need. If your average commission is $4,000 and you're able to capture those 14 deals, then you'll be earning $56,000 a year just from your current sphere. Now keep in mind, if you capture both the buyer and seller side of those extra 6, you're going to be a lot higher. If your average commission is $5,000 and you're doing just those 14 deals, then you're up to $70,000 a year. And by the way, if you do everything we're going to lay out in the next 90 days of this program, you should be on track for a solid 6-figure income. But it takes time, it takes work, and it takes systems. And it takes you putting something back into your business as well. The next section is your action items, or the systems you put in place to maintain and grow these relationships. What I have in this list includes some of the top systems in the industry to maintain contact. On top of this list is a newsletter, and I want you to understand that newsletters are written, printed newsletter, not something that goes out by email. While e-newsletters are great and free and important, the reality is that they have very little effect because we're all bombarded by junk email each and every day. And many spam filters eliminate some of our marketing tools from getting to the intended recipient. I'm not saying don't do e-newsletters. Of course, I want you to do them. We have them built into Moxie. We've got them built into Business Builder. They're wonderful. It's one more free tool that you need to be doing. but I'm rather saying that a physical newsletter to their door is far more powerful and really reminds them that you're in the business. And they run about $1 a piece each month to have them printed. So if you're sending and mailed, so if you're sending out 100 a month, that's $100 a month, and it keeps you from potentially losing that $5,000 or $6,000 commission when your cousin doesn't think about you first when she decides to purchase a property. And it reminds your network at the right moment that they need to refer you to a coworker who's talking about selling. And one of the reasons this does well is automation. If you set up an automated system of somebody else sending them out, you can set it and forget it. Just put it on your credit card and let it run. You're going to be hitting them over and over again. So without a system in place, when agents get busy, they forget to do the things that made them successful. If you want to start a newsletter campaign, please talk to your manager or your mentor, and they will help you to get started. We'll give you a couple of options. And by the way, once you start that newsletter campaign, realize that it's going to take some time for it to work. You can't come back in after 3 months and say, I tried it and it's not getting anywhere. Newsletters are one of the most powerful things you can do, but it takes time to work. The next down is e-newsletters. Now, we got a video on our site, c21resources.com, that outlines exactly how to add e-newsletter campaigns to everyone you add to your contact management system. There's also a great holiday greeting campaign that you should add as well. And the next one down is promotional products. I ran out of space here, so I had to put it in this way. And the idea is to have a reason to stop by and see those people in your sphere of influence and your past clients as you start having past clients. This is something that most agents don't do, but it's one of the most effective things that you can do. So let's skip over to this a second and show you what it looks like. So you might order 30 ice cream scoopers with your name on them, and it might say on the handle, let me give you this scoop about the real estate market. Okay, it might be a little corny. Or a bag of smart popcorn with a note attached saying, real estate is popping this year, call me. Or super trainer Brian Buffini, who you'll hear more about during our training sessions, had agents buy a package of ketchup, mustard, and relish from Sam's Club. I think they're $3 a piece, and attach a little note that says, I just wanted to catch up and let you know that I relish your referrals. My clients are the best and always cut the mustard. Again, it's an inexpensive way to stop by and reconnect with them and remind them that you're in real estate. It does not have to be expensive. We have bought Frisbees for less than $1 a piece. You can buy nearly anything with your name on it, from jar openers to keychains to hot mitts, car scrapers, coffee mugs, bottle openers, flashlights, chip bag holders, staplers, car chargers, USB drives, whatever. And each one can have a creative saying. If you want suggestions for slogans, Google the phrase Pinterest pop buys, POP space BYS. There are lots of followers of Brian Buffini's real estate training that have posted all sorts of great ideas. Brian's from Ireland, and he calls stopping by someone's house with a promotional product a pop by. And by the way, unlike newsletters, this isn't something you do every month. You might do it twice a year. So on this chart, you may want to lay out how much you're going to spend on these promotional products. If you're going to hit 100 people in your sphere of influence, you're able to get a cute promotional product for $3.50 a piece. That's $350. If you do it twice a year, that's an expense of $700 a year, but it will absolutely get you referrals from it. If you get something like a little ice scraper that might be $1 or $1.50, it's something they're going to see every time they have ice on their car. Jar openers, you can get where they're opening jars with them. And as you go through this list, you're going to calculate out what each of these things costs to do. Some of the other items on this list include calendars. One of the very best promotional products we do every year are magnetic calendars with tear-off pages. Everyone seems to put them on their refrigerator, and they see your smiling face every day when they get out the milk. People love those. I have calls on this list as well, making calls to them. Everyone should get a personal call from you 4 times a year. If you have 5 people a day, or you call 5 people a day for just a few minutes, it will take you 20 days to hit all 100. You can do that in January, April, July, and September, or some variation. Another way to do it is to set up a spreadsheet with everybody you know in your sphere and call 33 of them a month. If you make calls every business day, that's barely more than a call a day in the morning, and you're getting to everybody 4 times a year, and it costs you $0. Unlike newsletters and promotional products, there's no cost for it. And make yourself accountable to get this done. We're going to be going through some scheduling and time accountability in our talk as well. Personal notes really resonate with clients and friends. It's not an email, but something personal that you take time to do. I won't get too far into this because during your initial 90 days, we're going to have you listen to a presentation that Rick DeLuca did at a Century 21 convention. You're going to love him. He's hysterical. He's like a comedian, where he really explains the power of the personal note. He explains it far better than I ever could. You can sit down in the morning and you can write 2 or 3 personal notes before you start your day, and your business will absolutely take off. And in 30 days, you'll hit 60 to 90 people. We're going to get into some of these other items in future programs, including event marketing, which includes some customer appreciation events, might include wine and cheese event or an ice cream truck for a neighborhood for your clients, a picnic, an Easter egg hunt. There are lots of possibilities. We'll discuss them in detail in a few weeks. Now, again, our goal is not to dump everything on you at once, but to give you an overview of what's possible and then help you to build these systems into your business one at a time. On the bottom of this page are goals that you're going to set for this section initially. Which systems are you going to implement right away, and what date are you going to implement them by? And we're going to go through the other 2 areas of building business as well. We want to start with sphere of influence, your social network, those people who like and trust you, because that's where you're going to get most of your traction right away. Now, going on to the second page, that second form of developing business, again, is paying for that business, buying that business. You can purchase zip codes on Zillow, or you can farm areas or demographic groups with postcards over and over again. You can pay referral fees to places like Realtor.com, known as OpCity, or to OJO Labs or other sources. We've had many agents over the years that have spent a lot of money buying business, and that's not a bad thing, as long as you can get a high enough return on investment, as long as you have the money in the first place, and as long as you can get a high enough return on investment. You can buy initial business and then develop relationships with those clients that move them into that first page, into that sphere of influence. And those clients will refer you more and more clients. Now, how do you figure out what your return on investment is, your ROI, for any marketing campaign? You won't until you test it. You have to figure out how much money you're spending and how much you make from that spending to figure out what kind of multiplier or what kind of return you're getting on money that you're investing in marketing. If you're interested in this and doing some paid advertising, and you have an idea of a budget for your marketing, your manager can sit down with you and show you some examples of how other agents did the same type of marketing with different paid advertising in the past and what might work for you. And again, I can't emphasize enough that you are your own business within a business. Every business, large or small, lays out a business plan and their budget and then figures out what their return on that investment will be. It doesn't matter if you're a small deli or you're Amazon. You figure out your budget, your expenses, what kind of return you're looking to generate or you expect to generate. And then the last section of this planning worksheet is, and here's some of the paid advertising suggestions you might do. And the last section of this planning worksheet is prospecting, which is time and effort. So if you don't have the money and you don't have a big sphere of influence and you need to develop business right now, then you may have to pick up the phone and call people. You've got to find a way to meet potential clients, and that's prospecting. And the top 2 here you're going to see are door knocking and cold calling. But what you really have to do is have a system. This isn't a one-off shot in the dark. You have to set aside time and have a system, a plan to door knock or to cold call. Incidentally, one of the top Century 21 agents in the country for several years was someone who had been a high school basketball coach, and he didn't have enough money to get an apartment. So he would sneak back into the high school and sleep in the gym every night. In order to get an apartment, he started in real estate, and he would leave the school every evening and knock on doors for 2 or 3 hours. He started with a neighborhood of 300 homes, and he tried to hit all of them every single month. And then he expanded to 600 homes and 1,000 homes. And everyone in that area got to know him, and he became the realtor for the area. And he took over that business. He had a plan, not just stopping by once. If you're cold calling, you've got to have a reason to call. You should have a dialogue to use. And again, we're going to get into that a few sessions from now when we start talking about prospecting methods. You might find a listing that sold recently and call through the neighborhood to let them know that a home sold and there are other buyers looking. We subscribe to a few software programs that can help you to pull all the numbers for all the homes in the neighborhood, including cell phone numbers, incidentally, and also cross-reference to make sure they're not on the do not call list. And again, I'll get into more detail on this when we get into our prospecting sessions going forward in our Quick Start program. But many of our top agents, many of the people who've become the highest income producers in our company, started their careers with cold calling. And you've all heard of luck, right? Well, we know that there are people thinking about selling every day of the year. And if you need some luck or you need a listing right now, if you sit down and call people for the next 3 hours, you will luck into a listing. Now, we've done pizza nights where 5 or 6 or 10 agents have called through neighborhoods, and we've seen agents get appointments in only 1 or 2 hours. And a lot of you are never going to do that because you're trying to avoid that. You don't like it. But the honest answer is it's one of the easiest ways to generate business. There are many reasons you can use to call, but again, we'll get into that in a few weeks. Open houses we have listed here. They can be a source of meeting clients for the first time. And since you don't likely have any listings yet, that's perfectly okay. Ask around the office, and someone will likely let you do an open house in your listing. We have a whole open house campaign video on our website to talk you through how to do it right. So how do we make all this come together? So let's start by going back to your sphere of influence up here, and then we'll finish up at the bottom of this page. Let's say you've got enough people in your sphere of influence that you're expecting to earn $80,000 or $60,000 based just on your sphere, but that's not enough. You can't pay your bills with that. You can't replace the income from your prior career from that. So you come down and you decide, I've got to do some paid advertising as well. And if not, I don't have enough cash to do that right now. I'm going to scroll down to prospecting and try and figure out what part of prospecting I can do to try and generate enough income to fill that gap and pay my bills. Again, in the long run, you're going to generate more clients because your past clients are going to refer you business as well. But we need to get to the point where you have enough past clients. So let's go down to the end of page 3. And again, this is in your Fast Start manual, your Quick Start manual. So we can bring this together. On page 1, we decided what we needed in order to pay our bills and promote ourselves. You may actually set that number a little higher to include what you want as well as what you need, but you should have an idea of a minimum and then an expectation. And then start filling out this form. And actually, I've already filled out part of this in your Quick Start book. It's blank. We're going to start with transferring what your required income is, this $120,000, let's say, to make this a successful career for you. On the next line, we're going to figure out what your average take-home commission is. Now, you may not know that. You may have to talk to your manager or your mentor to help you figure out, based on the average sale price in the market and the average commission structure you're on, what is the average commission going to be on a typical sale? And let's plug in $4,800 as a typical commission earned by an agent. Again, this really depends on where you're based. So if we divide $120,000 by $4,800 a transaction, that means you need to have 25 transactions, 25 sales per year in order to achieve that goal. The next line breaks this down to how many appointments you have to go on in order to generate a sale. Now, when I state appointments here, I don't mean that if you take a buyer out 10 times, it's 10 appointments. What we're looking for is each appointment with a new client. So how many listing appointments and how many initial meetings with buyers result in you selling a property? If you go to any planning course, the typical number you'll hear is somewhere between 3 and 4 initial client appointments result in a sale. Let me explain that. When you go on a listing appointment, that client may decide to list with you. That's a win. But they may also, and hopefully at the right price, but they may also decide to try selling on their own. Or they may decide to list with one of your competitors. What a huge mistake that is, if you ask me. Or they may decide that the time isn't quite right, so they're not going to sell at all. Prices aren't high enough. They're going to wait till next year. But about 25 to 35% of the time, when you go do a listing presentation, they're going to list the property with you. When you get through our listing presentation course in a couple of weeks, you're going to increase your odds of listing that property because the client is hopefully going to be less likely to try and sell it on their own or list with a competitor. Working with buyers, when buyers come in to meet with you, some of them aren't going to qualify. Some of them are going to shop around with different agents, not be loyal. Some of them will simply never find the right property. So again, somewhere between a quarter of the buyers you meet and a third of them will buy a property from you once you start showing them properties. Now in this chart, I'm going to plug in 3.2, that you need to have 3.2 different clients you meet with to have a sale. So if we multiply this out, Got 25 sales we need to get our 120,000 income times 3.2 clients we start working with. That means we need 80 clients this year in order to generate those 25 sales. But looking at 80 appointments might be overwhelming. So we're going to break this down to an easier figure. How many weeks of the year are you going to planning on working? Maybe you take 2 weeks out for vacation, maybe a week between Christmas and New Year's, maybe a week for the heck of it. And that leaves you with 48 working weeks. So if we divide 80 appointments into 48 weeks, you're going to end up with about less than 1.7 appointments per week you need. I'm going to shoot for 2, but you need that many appointments a week to make this work. So if you go a couple of dry weeks, you've got to make up the difference. And how many contacts do I need to make? How many people do I have to cold call or knock on doors or go visit in order to get one appointment? Because we need those 80 appointments during this year. And this is where it gets a bit tricky, and you may have to meet with your manager or mentor. But we typically figure if you're cold calling people that don't know you already, about 1 in 50 is going to tell you they're thinking of selling. That's whether you cold call or whether you knock on doors. The truth is you can call all day long and get no one, or you can call for 30 minutes and get 2. But I'm going to use an average in the industry of 50. As you get better at this, you will find out that you're able to call for sale by owners and maybe get in the door 1 out of every 8 or 10 calls. Or you might call expired listings and get in the door 1 out of every 10 or 12. But again, let's start with the worst case, blind cold calling, shot in the dark marketing. 1 in 50 is probably going to tell you they're thinking about selling a property. So that means to achieve these 80 appointments, in order to have 25 sales, in order to make $120,000 a year, we need to contact 50 times 80 people. Hope that makes sense. 50 calls to get 80 appointments. 50 calls to get 1 appointment times 80 appointments means 4,000 people we need to reach out to in a year. Now let's divide that again by our 48 weeks of work. And it means that you have to call slightly more than 83 people per week, or less than 20 people a day, 5 days a week, to generate your desired income. Or knock on 83 doors, or contact for sale by owners, or contact expired listings. And keep in mind that your numbers will improve dramatically as you work on connecting with your sphere of influence. And while this may seem like a lot, keep in mind that you're selling properties and really taking care of your clients. They're going to refer you more clients, meaning less prospecting and more referrals. And some of those people will come back and sell and buy again, or buy investment properties, or buy a home for their kid in college. All this builds into a solid long-term business that can make you a really high income level. You meet with somebody, you do business with them, you provide great service, and then they reuse you again and they refer you to others. But unless you've got strong systems in place to actively keep meeting people and keep putting them into your sphere of influence and keep in front of them, you're not going to grow your business. You need to be organized. You need to have a contact management system, which we're going to push you into using to maintain ongoing communication. And you need to send those newsletters and note cards and do the actions you need to in order to grow your business. Then you move those goals from your action plan over to something called a week at a glance or a month at a glance. What doesn't get planned for doesn't get done. If you don't block off time for prospecting from the very beginning of your career, you'll find out that you've gotten busy showing homes and you stop prospecting and you go through a dry spell. And when you go through your first dry spell, your world is ending and you blame everyone around you. We need to make sure you block off time every week and every month to do the things that will ensure your long-term success. So you might block off Monday morning, Wednesday morning, and Friday morning to do some of your activities. Or you might block off Monday 1 to 3 and Tuesday 1 to 3 and Thursday 1 to 3 to do your prospecting. But you need to block off time every week and every month to do the things that will ensure your long-term success. There are some goals you need to do every week, like prospecting. There are other goals that you may only do monthly, like organizational goals, or working on your business instead of in your business. And when you block off time for prospecting activities or follow-up activities, treat it like an appointment. When someone wants to meet with you, book around those blocked times, or you won't come back to them. I know this from the experience of training hundreds of agents throughout my career. Start working the same time every day, and an earlier start is better. We in the real estate industry are the worst for this. Top agents that are always busy actually take the time to plan out their days and actually start working very early, many of them at 7 a.m. Most other agents roll out of bed at 10 or the crack of noon and waste half the day. Why? Because they can. The earlier you start your day, the better. And the organization, the administration, is always done in the morning. You don't want to be sitting at your desk at 4 o'clock in the afternoon trying to plan your day. Plan your prospecting and your appointments for later in the day. And again, book appointments around blocked off times for prospecting and follow-up. Prospecting needs to be a priority or you won't do it. So what happens if somebody calls and says, hey, Lauren, which is weird because your name isn't Lauren. Hey, Lauren, I want to list my $5 million mansion. Can you please stop by at 6 this evening? What you should do is say, I would love to, but I do have an appointment at 6. Would it be possible for me to come at 7? Why are you doing this? Because you made a commitment in your schedule to do prospecting at that time. You've got it blocked off. And by the way, 9 out of 10 people will say, sure, that's fine. Come at 7 or 7:30. If they absolutely can't do any other time, tell them you'll call them right back. Wait a few minutes, then call them. It shows that you're not sitting around waiting for an appointment. People respect busy people. And then switch your prospecting to another time. I checked, I was able to move some things around. I could be there at 6. You should also plot your personal activities first. And let me show you this. If you have a date night every Wednesday or this Wednesday and this Wednesday, or you've got kids' schedules, plot that time with the kids or any other priority in your life before anything else. Because if you don't, you'll find that business may take over and cause you heartache in your personal life. And by the way, I'm a digital person, so you can plot all this on a chart like the one I've included in the Quick Start Manual, and then save it to your phone in Google Calendar or whatever app you're using as an ongoing event. And everyone should have someone who holds them accountable. So have someone hold you accountable for your prospecting. It might be another realtor in the company. It might be a family member or a friend. Because if you make yourself accountable to somebody, you're far more likely to do the things that you don't like to do, and that'll make you successful. And finally, review your business plan every month. Now, some assignments or homework for this week. Again, I want you to go into Business Builder or MoxieWorks and add a minimum of 10 more contacts from your social network, your sphere of influence, and put them at least on the holiday greeting and the newsletters. And again, I want you to get each contact's physical mailing address as well. So you can do that by calling and saying, hi, it's Lauren Keim calling. Hi, it's Lauren calling. Hi, it's Lauren from Century 21. If they don't realize you're in real estate, hi, it's Lauren calling. I know we haven't spoken for a little while. My apologies. I want to be more organized. So what I'm doing is giving you a call because I don't have your address, my address book, and I'd love to be able to send you a birthday card or a Christmas card from time to time. Do you mind if I write down your address? And then you can say, how's the family and all that other stuff that goes along with it and reconnect with them. And again, remind them that you're in real estate. Second thing is I want you again to preview 5 homes this week. I want you to understand what's happening in the marketplace. The best way to do that is to preview homes. We're going to have a lot more of this going forward. And then I want you to fill out your week at a glance, month at a glance calendars. And I want you to turn those in to your manager or your mentor. Seriously, what gets turned in gets done. And it's critical to make sure that you are going to be turning this stuff in. You're going to be getting this stuff done so that you can become successful in your career. So thanks for listening again to part 2. I'll see you in session number 3.